Alright, hey everybody, A for Awesome here. This is going to be a relatively short video in comparison to some of my much longer documentary style videos or music reviews or whatever you want to call them. Retrospectives, reviews. Because today we're talking about George Ragan The Dead Son, also known as Johnny Three Tears from Hollywood Undead, as he released his first solo project on May 14th of 2021. And it kind of closed out the new Empire era of the group. So I felt like kind of putting this on to extending this, and putting this into another video. I might also make one on the Charlie Scene album just because it came out before Hotel California. And I'm kind of, so it probably kind of technically closes out the era, but I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do that. We'll see how I feel, because I didn't really like the Charlie Scene album as much as I enjoyed the Johnny Three Tears album, which is interesting because I enjoyed Charlie Scene as a member of the band more. But we're going to be talking about that album next, and I don't know about... Unfortunately, there isn't much background on it. Like, there's not really much info. Obviously, the announcement. I can really just recite from memory the announcement, the first photos that came out, and the songs and such. But really, I'm just going to be giving my opinion of the songs. Hence why this will probably be an under 15-minute video, which is why I honestly might do Charlie Scene as well. We'll see. I haven't quite sat down and reviewed all that. So, track 1, All Gone, is a very depressing song about suicide, and honestly, a very slow and melodic album opener. The second track, Bring Me Down, I swear to God features Danny in the background, but nobody's confirmed or denied it yet. Track 3, The Day I Die, is a love song from George written to his wife Asia. The next track, Porcelain, is a song written about Johnny's troubles with cocaine usage throughout his life and career. The next track, Heaven Can Wait, is the lead single off of the album, and honestly, I remember when it came out, it really caught me by surprise, as when I heard that Johnny Three Tears from Hollywood Undead was going to be making a solo project, I imagined the same type of heavy hip-hop that Deuce made when he had a solo project. I imagined it to kind of just be an extension from the spider web of members in this band. But instead it ended up being a completely different genre, with this being a country pop song. But it explains why he didn't use the name Johnny Three Tears when he made this solo project, as he didn't feel that it resonated with that persona and that character. And why he never used a mask for it, for example, as it's not it isn't Johnny Three Tears music, it is George's music from his own personal experiences instead of being made with this group. The next track, Waste Away, is a song very similar in themes to Pour Me off of Hollywood Undead's American Tragedy, or The Diary off of Hollywood Undead's Swan Songs. It depicts the loneliness and depression caused by addiction. Hell, even Party by Myself from Day of the Dead had this theme. So it's really interesting just to see it being expanded upon more and more. The next track, and my personal favorite from the album, is Young Part 2. For those who are unfamiliar with this group and for some reason watching this video, Young Part 1 is a song from the first album by the group Hollywood Undead. It's a song from Swan Songs, so back when Deuce was featured. So it's really interesting seeing them reference that. It's a sequel to Young from Swan Songs, and is, like I said, the best song on the album, as it's a kind of early 2000s sounding rock song, diving deep into the aging process and really challenging a lot of what Johnny stood for as a person back when he was first a member of the band, and how much he's changed and how much he regrets the way that he's allowed himself to spiral out of control from, the writing, producing, recording of Swan Songs all the way up to 5 even. Like, for 10 years, he was kind of off the rails. The next track, Go to War, is a track produced by Charlie Scene of Hollywood Undead that shares a name with a song released on Hollywood Undead's next album, which was Hotel California. This song continues the themes of war and political issues and murder from songs like Glory from American Tragedy, Outside from Notes from the Underground, I Don't Want to Die from American Tragedy, Scava from American Tragedy, and many others. The next track, Dear Ava, is an adorable song dedicated to George's first and oldest daughter. The next track after that is Broken Man, which is my least favorite from the album, and it kind of comes out with the forced edginess that a lot of songs that were written with Hollywood Undead at the time came out with. And the next track, Goodbye, is a final send-off wrapping up the album the same way it began, discussing the many ways that we can die. It seems that at this point in his life, George became infatuated with his own mortality, in particular the idea that he himself is the cause of his own demise, likely hinting at a possible overdose that occurred to him, referenced in Porcelain, likely taking place during the Day of the Dead album cycle that caused him to begin the process of sobriety, which has had its ups and downs. His sobriety was at its peak during the New Empire album cycles, and during this album cycle it can definitely as well. But it can definitely be brought into question if he's continued that path, as he's mentioned in interviews with Jelly Roll's wife, actually, that during the collaboration that he did with Jelly Roll on House of Mirrors, that he was under the influence again. Shortly after, though, Hollywood Undead released Runaway, which, in my opinion, was kind of shit, and honestly, I was really fucking disappointed when this came out. I actually remember I was in a... what was it? It was like a grade 11 drama class, and I fucking... I was so excited to show this song to a couple people that it got played. It ended up getting played to the whole class, which was really embarrassing because I had been hyping up Hollywood Undead the whole school year as one of my favorite bands, and like that I was really into metal and stuff. I even remember showing Funeral Derangements by Ice Nine Kills, as the teacher would make us pick a song to play every morning. And so I always requested the most edgy shit I could think of just because I wanted to throw people off and make their days worse because I'm an asshole. And then this song came on and I had not heard it yet, and I was like, hey, play this, it's new and I don't know if it's any good yet, and then boom, it was shit. Soon after, though, Danny from Hollywood Undead would release songs with Lorene Drive again. American Spirit was a fantastic song that I wish made it onto an actual official album by the band. There Goes My Saturday Night was just okay. Anything Goes Tonight was way too similar to There Goes My Saturday Night. Beautiful was way too generic and honestly sounds like an American Marianas Trench. And All Those Curves honestly kind of was mid, and the chick on the cover art looks scarily similar to my son's mother, so I'm concerned. Danny, why do you like chopped hose? Except your wife. Your wife's chill. The next track that would be released by any member of the group was also released by Danny, as it's pretty obvious that he posted those Lorene Drive tracks as a way to kind of signal the end of his collaboration with that group, since it was only 5 separate songs released in an EP, and he started releasing his own solo music, starting with Treading Water, which in my opinion was really, really well done, but also sounded way too similar to just White the Weeknd. Hollywood Undead later collaborated with Blasterjaxx and released a song called Shadows, which I really enjoy the creepy music box and the beat, but I really am not a fan of the EDM drop and rave sound. Eventually, though, Johnny Three Tears would release a collaboration with From Ashes to New, who, for those who don't know, did a collaboration with Deuce, actually, in 2016, shortly before the release of Invincible. I think I mentioned it in my Day of the Dead review, but that was like 2 years ago, so I can't remember. But honestly, I think it's interesting that they collaborated with Deuce in their first album, and then during Quarantine Chronicles EPs, they collabed with Johnny Three Tears. And it's an interesting... I never thought I'd say this, but it's a really awesome and interesting song about school shootings. Very interesting. But yes, that is the entire video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this relatively short video compared to my previous videos about this topic. I'm going to probably do a Charlie Seed album review because I've kind of talked myself into it. And then I'll be covering Ice Nine Kills. And yeah, that's about it. I am not quite ready to cover Hotel California, as that album is kind of a beast to go through, as instead of being 9 or 10 tracks, it's like 23, or I think it's 25 tracks for the whole album, which is more than I'm used to covering per video. The most I've ever covered was like 50 songs in one video, and that was over the course of 5 different albums. And that was actually, I believe, I've done that twice. The first time was my first AC/DC album. It's usually classic rock bands because they only release 10 songs and there's not much info between each album, so it's like you just kind of mash the first 10 years into one video. But yeah, I'm going to be covering Charlie Scene next, and then we'll be going through the Ice Nine Kills albums, and yeah, I just really enjoy talking about music on this channel, and I hope that you guys enjoy. Alright, hey guys, A for Awesome here. Welcome back to another one of my Hollywood Undead review retrospective style videos. Today, in particular, we are going to be talking about Charlie Sheen's The Outsider album. There's not a lot of background on this album, just like with The Abyss by Johnny Three Tears. It kind of just seems around COVID that they all had nothing to do and started making their own music. I wish we got the Danny solo album, but that's not out yet. But if it comes out, when it comes out, and if it comes out, I'll be very, very happy to listen to it, and I'll make a total review. Unfortunately, this is the last Hollywood Undead video that I'm going to be making for quite some time, at least till probably next year, due to, honestly, I haven't listened to Hotel California enough to properly give it a review, and I still want to research and do more stuff for that. And on top of that, I'm going to have a very busy year this year, probably, with my daughter being born and all that. So I'm leaving it off with this video purely just because it's a little bit easier to finish off with this era and then start in the next era, because it felt like Hotel California was its own era, you know? Whereas to me, maybe it's just as a fan, for me, 5 all the way up to from literally like 2017 to 2022 felt like one big chunk where they all kind of just did the same thing, and it kind of all felt like one big era for the band. Whereas Hotel California, to me, started the new era, which includes the new Hollywood Forever singles and such. So I want to wait to cover that till another day. I don't want to get halfway through writing that and then come back. So I'm taking a pause after this video. I didn't even originally have the Charlie Sheen Outsider script written. I originally just had it ending with Johnny Three Tears, but during the last video, I talked myself into making this video. So we're going to cover, there's not much to go into, and it's probably going to be really, really short, but we're going to go into the tracks, at least, starting with track 1, Kingdom, which in my opinion is a great modern rock track with some pretty decent screams. Not the best on this album, though. The second track, Can't Break Me Down, is a great song meant to invoke classic 80s hits, and honestly, to me, it sounds like the end credits of a Disney Pixar movie. Which you could take as a positive or a negative. Like, for me, I hear this song and it reminds me of, like, Wreck-It Ralph for some reason. It also kind of reminds me of End of Beginning by Djo, or DJO, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but Joe Keery. The guy, Steve the Hare Harrington from Stranger Things. That song that's, like, the number 1 on the charts right now. I for good reason. It's a great song. In my opinion, this song was really ahead of its time. Track 3 is called Lil Tim McGraw and was actually the first single released from the album. Kingdom was released as number 2, and Can't Break Me Down was released as number 3. So a bit of a weird. It's very clear that he put the singles at the very top of the album because it would be the most popular songs. I don't know what this song is. I don't even know what to talk. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not really a big country person. I listen to a little Johnny Cash once in a while, but that's about it. So, and this just is a little not my cup of tea. Then the fourth track, Good Morning, is an awesome breakup song and by far my favorite on the album, and actually is the only 2 songs from this album that after it came out, has stuck with me over the last 4 years, were Kingdom and Good Morning. Actually, and Can't Break Me Down. There were 3. Yeah, 3 from this album. That stuck with me, and it was those 3. The rest of the album kind of got cast aside, which is actually unfortunate because upon re-listening, you'll hear my much more positive opinions compared to my initial listening back in 2022. The next track, Take It From Me, is a great hip-hop song with an interesting premise, but it's just not very unique. The next 2 tracks, My Own Worst Enemy and Save Me From Myself, are very, like, default-sounding party tracks with, like, a very, very, it's very obvious that he was going for on Everywhere I Go, or even if we want to use a newer example, like Party By Myself or Ruin My Life style song, and I just can't get into it. I'm not a fan. After that is Pray For Me, which is a really good acoustic song that seems to be about the bad choices made being addicted to drugs and alcohol. Charlie Sheen has never been super open on any interviews about if he ever has struggled with addiction. He's talked about how he's been broke. He talked about how after joining Hollywood Undead, he ended up living with his mother again. But he has never really talked about if he struggled severely with substance abuse. I know he smokes a lot of pot and drinks a lot of beer, but that's about the worst I've seen with him. Nowhere compared to Johnny Three Tears, for sure. The next song, The Ghost, is a kind of country pop song in a similar genre as Lil Tim McGraw, but instead of being about partying and I don't know, homeless Asian people for some reason. It's a song about feeling like you don't belong, and honestly hits deep. The next track after that is called In the Mouth of Madness, which to me is the most Hollywood Undead sounding song on the album. I think Kingdom was pretty decent. Like, Kingdom to me sounded like the kind of song that maybe didn't get included on like 5. It sounds like the kind of song that would have been on 5. This to me sounds like the kind of song that would have been on Swan Songs. I don't know. I think it's too quiet. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Anyway. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Anyway. This is future me here, future Ozzy here. It is like 1:30 in the morning and I'm editing this video right now, and I'm just now realizing that I forgot to include the Kurlzz solo song that he released during COVID, because it's the one and only song he's ever released as a solo project, and he released it under the name Magic Eyes, didn't really promote it, and then took it off of Spotify, so but I actually think it's one of the better solo songs by any of these members. At least during the COVID era, as I would call it. I think it's heavier than anything on like most of New Empire Volume 2. I think it's better than most of Charlie's solo work. I wouldn't say the writing is as top quality as Johnny's solo work, but I think it's a very, very well done song. I wish it got more attention. I suggest you check it out. It's called The Know-It-Alls by Magic Eyes. A lot of people mistakenly thought that it was called Magic Eyes by a new band called The Know-It-Alls, and that the Kurlzz was doing vocals for a project called The Know-It-Alls, but no, it's called The Know-It-Alls by Magic Eyes. You can only find it on YouTube though, so my best, yeah, you gotta search it up. So it takes a little bit of digging. But I would really love for this project to get more attention, because I actually think that it's one of the better solo projects.